Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week. So keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. You can watch the show on the ThunderCast YouTube channel and listen pretty much anywhere you like to listen to a podcast. We're all over the place. It's Spotify and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, you name it. You can probably find the ThunderCast. We sure would appreciate it if you would give the show a like, share those links with your friends and fellow herd fans, and leave us a rating. We love to interact with our listeners and viewers all across social media. So it's got to be one of the favorite things that we do is interact with our listeners. It's really what makes this show fun to do. Russ and I have a great time, but it's our listeners and watchers that really make it worth doing. Man, football season is finally freaking here. We are literally just days away from the herd kicking off in Athens, Georgia. We got a little bit of taste of the depth chart today. We think we might know some things. There are some things that surprised us a little bit, and we asked around Herd Nation if they were also a little surprised, and some people were. I want to get into this Game 1 preview. I want to hear from you here real quick just for a second. What's your energy level as we look to kick off this 2025 season? And then we'll get ready to get into this interview or this preview.
Yeah, so I'm so crazy right now because we're looking at December since the last time we had Marshall play. It's almost 9 months. And also making the trip, I love road trips. I love college football. I love the tailgate experience. And I love to take in new towns that I go to. So kind of a bucket list place to go to, Sanford Stadium, watching Georgia and the town of Athens. Everyone says it's a great college town. We just had Trey Tucker from the Doghouse podcast on here, and he reiterated that. It's a great college town. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it ought to be a great trip for those that are making the trip. We'll have some things to perk your ears up a little bit if you're not making the trip to Athens, Georgia. Make your game day experience a little bit more fun. But I'm ready to get into this preview. I need you to give me a quick word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
Nothing left to do but to finally get into it. We've done the position group breakdown series. We've familiarized the herd fans with everybody that's on this roster, who we think will be making waves this year, and how we think it would all line out. I got to admit, when I saw the first depth chart, we were pretty close. We hit the nail on the head in a number of positions, particularly the ones that are going to be moving the football. And it makes me feel pretty good when we're pretty accurate like that. So we appreciate everybody that tuned into that entire series. It's really awesome. But now it's time for the Marshall at number 5 Georgia Week 1 football preview, brought to you by Willie's at the Paddock in Huntington, West Virginia. The herd opens as a 39.5-point underdog. The over-under is 55.5 going in. So far, the herd just a 2.7% chance to win in Athens, Georgia. Not entirely disrespectful, Russ. I don't feel like that is. Where all the offseason headlines and a lot of the unknown that we talked about throughout our entire position group breakdown series, Georgia is a perennial playoff team, a national championship contender. They live in a different college football world than most all of the other teams in college football. The game's going down Saturday, August 30th at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. It's going to be a very loud, raucous, rowdy environment for the herd to go in. I got some notes for you here. Of course, you remember this. A lot of herd fans might remember this, but some of you guys from a younger generation may not know. This is the second all-time meeting for the herd and the Bulldogs. All the way back in 2004, the herd went down between the hedges and gave the Dogs a game. It was a 13-3 win And really, Marshall hung around for a whole lot. Just look at that box score up there if you're watching. Just a couple of field goals after one fairly early touchdown in the first quarter for Georgia. Only 3 points in the second half of that one. This Herd team was gutsy. Man, they gave the Dogs all they really wanted, I'm sure. And it's been, 22 years since we've been there? Now we're going back. This is the first game, of course, as head coach at the FBS level for Tony Gibson. The second straight season the Herd has had a top 5 team on the schedule on the road. And this is the first SEC opponent for the Herd since 2006 when they went all the way, when they went up to Tennessee. And, that was a wild one. I went to that one. That was a pretty wild game. And then we were supposed to have South Carolina in 2018, but that game got canceled. So it has been a long time since an SEC opponent has been on the schedule. Russ, before we get into some players to look out for, what's your vibe here? What are you thinking? Don't give too much away, but this is unlike any other game that's on the schedule this year.
Well, what's on the screen is kind of the vibe, right? That's the talk is little David has no chance against big Goliath, and that's kind of a slice of college football right now. The haves and the have-nots. Anyone that uses P4. We don't like that term, but that's widely used. But anyone that uses P4 versus G6 is not the same as what we're talking about here today. There is an elite few amongst those P4 that just can outspend everybody. They're perennial national champion contenders every year. Georgia's one of them. So that's kind of the vibe is you're going down there to face one of the best in their house. They've had 31 consecutive victories at home. They have a roster that is, I don't know, it's probably very, very close to half of our entire athletic budget is what they've spent on the football. And I'm being serious. I talked to Trey Tucker, and they have $13.5 million in revenue share going to their football team roster. And then they have a portion, I don't know what, but of the $18.5 million in NIL that they spend on their entire athletic department athletes, a heavy portion of that goes to the football roster, as you can imagine. So they are in the upper 20s at least in their in what they spend on this football roster. It's absurd for us and the new normal for them.
That's very much a rinse and repeat of what we were facing last year in Columbus, Ohio. And those big numbers, 20 million, 30 million, get tossed around. And we went up there, and by the time it was all done, the score was really lopsided. But for a lot of the game, or early in the game, the Herd looked really good. And I think the Buckeyes fans perked up and went, wow, okay, we weren't expecting this out of a Marshall team or any team, right, this in the out-of-conference. And I'm hoping to get a little bit more of that this year. Go down there, make some noise, show these guys that you can play football, and really, number one, you want to come out healthy, right? You just want everybody to come out healthy. But you go down there to win a football game. You're not going down there just to play. You're going down there with intentions to win. And, I know there's a lot of folks that'll be laughing at that statement, but show me a coach that's worth his salt and any player that's worth his salt that doesn't go into every game looking to win, right? Yeah. And if that's not your attitude, then what the hell are you doing playing the sport or coaching the sport? You're going to win.
Let's use that quote that I personally heard Coach Gibson say at the reverse raffle that I went to the previous weekend. And then what he said again today on the press conference is, we're not going down there to collect a paycheck. Our intentions are to go down to play to win.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, that seems appropriate. That seems what everyone should do, but not a lot of people say that. A lot of people just say, well, we'd like to go give it a good shot and talk about how good the opponent is and stuff like that. Tony Gibson didn't beat around the bush. He said, I'm expecting to go down to win.
Yeah. That's what you should do, right? And we know that.
Right.
Now it's not about going to play to win. It's how hard is it going to be to do that? And in this game particularly, it's going to be much more difficult to do than in every other game in the remainder of the schedule, right? So let's talk about some of these guys that are going to make it extremely difficult for Marshall to get a win in a place where they haven't lost a football game in a very long time. But nobody is immune, right? Nobody is immune. Let's talk about it. It starts with the quarterback. It's number 14, Gunnar Stockton, 6'1", 215-pound junior, 440 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT last year, but he did have a playoff win over Texas. He's been given the keys to the truck to lead the Bulldogs offense. You move down to the running back, number 3, Nate Frazier, 5'10", 210-pound sophomore, 133 carries last year, 671 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5.0 yards per carry last year. This year, he finds himself both on the Doak Walker and Maxwell Award watch lists. This is going to be a running theme as we talk about players to look out for, honestly. Number 5 is wide receiver Noah Thomas, big transfer from Texas A&M, 6'5", 205. Lord of mercy, he's a senior, 39 receptions, 574 yards, 8 touchdowns, 14.7 yards per receptions last year with the Aggies. Then a guy that returns for the Dogs, number 86, wide receiver Dylan Bell, 6'1", 210-pound senior, 43 catches, 466 yards, 4 touchdowns in 2024. That was good for third on the team in all those categories last year with Georgia. And then tight end number 7, Lawson Lucky. I like that name. That's pretty cool. 6'4", 240-pound junior, 24 receptions, 348 yards, 3 touchdowns in 2024. Finds himself on the preseason John Mackey Award watch list for the nation's top tight end. We're going to flip the script here and talk defense for a minute. We've got 4 guys that are amongst the who's who in defenders in the nation. Let's start at each level and move our way back. Number 52, defensive lineman Christian Miller, 6'4", 305-pound junior. There's 27 tackles and 15 solo last year, 1.5 sacks. But this year, you're going to see a bigger role. Lands himself both on the Bednarik and Nagurski Award watch lists. Number 3, linebacker C.J. Allen, 6'1", 235-pound junior, 76 tackles last year, 49 of those solo. Also notched himself an interception. Lands himself on the Bednarik, Nagurski, and the Butkus Award watch list. Going back one more level to the defensive secondary now. Number 6, defensive back Dalen Everett, 6'1", 190-pound senior, 58 total tackles last year, 45 of those solo, 2 forced fumbles, 3 picks, and 3 passes defended. Also lands himself on the Bednarik and Nagurski Award watch list, but also gets that Thorpe Award watch list as well. Not to be outdone is teammate KJ Bolden, number 4. He's a safety, 6', 185-pound sophomore, 59 tackles last year, 40 of those solo, 1 forced fumble, an INT, and a pass defended. Much like Mr. Everett, KJ Bolden finds himself on the Bednarik, Nagurski, and Thorpe Award watch list. All 4 of those guys that we featured landed on the Bednarik and the Nagurski Award. Both defenders are on the Thorpe Award. The linebacker's on the Butkus Award, and the defensive lineman is on the Nagurski Award. These guys are stacked, and that's just the guys that are on watch lists. I didn't even go on further down. There's more impressive numbers, as you have posted on the screen here for those enjoying the show on YouTube. Russ, let's talk about this Georgia Bulldog team and exactly how vaunted it is before we get into some keys.
Yeah, so for anyone that is watching, as KD mentioned, these are only the returning players for Georgia that lead in the statistics. They have some transfers in as well that are going to be impact players, and we're going to talk about them. But this echoes a lot like what we said last year about Ohio State. It's an all-star game. You know, you're playing an all-star team that has just been assembled. I mean, you know, you're top 5 team in the country, so that's where a lot of the big-time players want to play. You know, this is a breeding ground for NFL drafts. They want to come and play there. They want to be with Kirby Smart. They want to be at a team that is going to perennially challenge for the national championship. Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, just look at every position. But what you're not seeing here is the big difference maker, in my opinion, is the depth. you look at their second string, their third string, there's not a huge drop off because, again, it's Georgia. Again, they're getting some of them millions of dollars, but even the lowest one with revenue share is getting at least $129,000. If you're on the 105 man roster, that's 13.5 million in revenue share split 105 ways. You're getting at least $129,000. So of course you're going to have better third string players than you would at, say, Akron. I don't know. I mean, Akron's down near the bottom and Georgia's near the top, so that's why I use that. But it's again, it's the haves and the have-nots, and this is what you're going to face is if one of these players has a bad game, if one of these players gets hurt, if one of these players needs to rest, they're just going to bring in somebody else that could start on many other teams.
Yeah, and this is the same type of thing we saw, kind of in this slightly before NIL era when those Nick Saban coached Alabama teams. Guys would sit for 2 years to be able to play 1 year knowing that was a ticket to the NFL. So your depth, you're 3 deep, you're 4 deep are guys that could start on most every team in the country. And it doesn't hurt that with revenue share, this is a really great place to be. The depth is an extremely, extremely off-putting thing to think about when you go, wow, man, these are guys. It's not inconceivable to think that, let's say, for example, defensive back 3 and 4 are probably going to be NFL caliber guys, might play in the league, or will at least get an opportunity to play in the league. And that's just kind of different than what we face for the remainder of the year. But nonetheless, nobody is immune to turnovers. Nobody is immune to losing a game. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be damn near impossible. But that's why you play the game. If all we did was look at these statistics and, that ESPN Power Index and the betting line, we just go, all right, well, this one's a loss and we're good. We'll move on to Missouri State at the home opener and we'll look to do that. But no, we're going down to win a football game. And that's what Tony Gibson says. And, there's going to be a big contingency of fans that are going down there to watch that game too. And it's going to be a fun environment for you guys that are making the trip. If you're not making the trip, though, and you're staying in Huntington or you're local to Huntington and you're looking for a place to watch the game, well, there's really nowhere better to watch the game than the sponsor of this preview for you, and that's Willie's at the Paddock at 440 8th Avenue West in Huntington. Great place to watch a game. Great place to check it all out. They are a neighborhood type bar, so they're kid friendly. You can take the kids, and this is not like a big dive bar where it's just going to be, crazy. I don't know, what do you call it? Crazy, wild, off the rails kind of partying. It's a place you can go and the family can watch the game, have a good time. Russ has got some video there of the place, so you can see what the theme is about. They're all about the herd. You can see the walls are decked out. Everything is cool, man. This is going to be a great place to go watch that Georgia game. Russ lives a little bit closer to that place, obviously, than I do, so he's been in there quite a bit. But just look, what a great place to go check a game out.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood bar, and it's actually in my neighborhood. It's over on the south side, and it's over on 8th Avenue near 5th Street West, right at the intersection there. And again, we can't stress enough that it's a neighborhood bar and grill. My kids have been in there. I see kids in there every time. Everybody goes in. Families walk from the neighborhood to eat. Great place to take in a Marshall game. In fact, Coach Tony Gibson and his entire herd staff were in there just recently, just a couple of days ago, maybe on Friday. I think they were in there. On Saturday, they had a fundraiser for the local animal shelter. I took my 2 pups down to get them bathed and support that. They raised over $2,200 for the animal shelter. So it's got that Marshall vibe. It's got that local neighborhood vibe. And they have lottery for anyone that wants to do that. They've got an outdoor patio for people that want to do that. And they've got on Tuesdays, Bill Johnson has his smoker out there, and they do some food that's not normally on the menu. So just a great neighborhood bar. Check it out, but definitely go for the watch party. If you're going to watch Georgia, don't watch it at home. Go watch it at Willie's.
That's right. One more time, 440 8th Avenue West in Huntington. If I was local, I figure I'd go check it out there too. It looks like a great place to have a watch party and cheer on the herd. Speaking of cheering on the herd, Russ, let's talk about what exactly Marshall's going to have to do to get a win in this game. It's not going to be easy, and I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, this is not the way I wanted to start my what does the herd have to do to win season because of this one-off type game, and it's so different than anybody else we're going to play. And, you know, I don't get to get as creative as I normally would because of what it's going to take. So what's your number one key to victory? What's the number one thing in your eyes that the herd's got to do to win?
While I'm doing that, I threw up the depth chart just to have people look at that. This is a projected depth chart that KD and I was going to be talking about, but it was released today. He said it earlier. My number one key to victory is to take advantage of every scoring opportunity. No threes for sevens and no zeros for threes. And you've heard me say that before, but you cannot go down there and take a touchdown off the board and have to settle for a field goal when you're in a must-have points situation against a juggernaut like Georgia. And you cannot go down there and miss a chip shot field goal and walk away with nothing after a 7-minute drive or something, just wasting clock and not having anything to show for it. So capitalize on every scoring opportunity is a must for me.
Yeah, that's my actual number 4 key to victory. It's score whenever you're in range to score, and that means a field goal. When you're in the red zone, you got to punch it in. You got to get something. Points off of created turnovers. You can't have that touchdown called back on penalty. Whenever there's an opportunity to put points on the board, you better put those points on the board because we know that teams like Georgia can score quick and not only quickly, but a lot. So you got to be able to match that energy. You can't leave anything hanging, and you've got to leave it all on the line, you know, to hopefully come out of there with a win. What's your number 2 key to victory?
It's got to be a definitive win in the turnover battle. We need several turnovers by our defense, and our offense needs to take care of the football. If you turn it over to them and just give them more and more opportunities to score, it could get ugly. But if they do the same, we can stay neck and neck with them a little while, then anything could happen on another turnover or another botched play or another something happens where they go down and all of a sudden they can't score when they need to. All of a sudden you got a football game. So you've got to win a definitive turnover battle in this one.
Yeah, that's actually, again, my number 3 key to victory, which is protecting at the football when we have it. Of course, yeah, whenever you can create some turnovers, you want to create turnovers. We saw that a couple of years ago when the herd went to South Bend and beat Notre Dame. Stephen Gilmore gets the pick 6. Owen Porter has a late interception to thwart a late drive and kind of kill that momentum from Notre Dame. And that's what you had to have when you needed it, right? And you've got to protect that football. Any extra possessions for Georgia at all is a death sentence. It's just not, it will not happen. You cannot give them anything extra whatsoever. What's your number 3 key to victory?
In my opinion, we need scores by defense and our special teams. Offense can't be the only one going up against them. A pick 6 or a scoop and score can be a potential 14-point swing. You know, they're going down, they're driving. All of a sudden, you take their drive away, and instead of them having an opportunity to score, you score. And block punt, taken back for a score, or a special teams return, that's a quick 7 points without taking up a lot of time on the clock to have to get those 7 points. We're going to need that against what should be an explosive offense and just a monster defense.
So I'm glad you used that word just now. Explosive offense, because my number 2, I guess I'm working backwards this week. My number 2 key to victory is to avoid those chunk plays by that explosive Georgia offense. This could be really, really hard to do, man. But if you can make them earn every first down, nothing easy, no 20-yard here, 15, 20 yards there. I mean, make them earn it, man. And that's going to be extremely hard to do because by nature, teams like this score quickly. and they can kind of score when they need to as opposed to when they want to, but they also score whenever the hell they want to a lot of times too. So avoiding those chunk plays, limiting that explosive offense, getting off of the field on third down, key in this game. What's your final key to victory if you got one?
I do, and it's play like you belong. It's easy to get overwhelmed in a 93,000 plus capacity stadium against the number 5 team in the country. You got to stay poised, but you also got to smack them in the mouth. You can't just go down there and play ho-hum and meek. You've got to go down there and you've got to try to make a statement. It might not work, but you're going to go down and give your best shot. And don't let them get in cruise control. And I think that's what you've got to do. You got to go down and shock them. You got to go down and put them on their heels at just the very least for a series or two to disrupt them so they don't get going.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you can't go down there and get smacked around and expect to earn any type of respect whatsoever. You got to show up and be a little gutsy. You got to show up and be a little ballsy. The Herd was able to do that early last year in Columbus, and we had those guys in the stands going, who the hell is this Marshall team? We didn't expect this to happen. And it took a horrible penalty or a turnover to kind of change the momentum of that, remember? And what was that? It was a punt. It was a what was that did that? It was a dropped punt or something like that.
You talking about Ohio State?
Yeah.
I missed that first part of that, but from memory, they muffed the punt, and it would have given us the ball within the 10, maybe the 7-yard line or something like that, and they called a penalty flag that nullified it, and that would have been an easy opportunity to tie the game right before halftime. Then you go in, actually, I think down 21-7 instead of up or tied 14-14.
Right. So up until that point, fans in Columbus were going, we don't like this gutsy Herd team, but after the game was well in hand, then they started thinking, okay, there's respect to these guys. They came to play. They gave us, a little bit of a scare. And that's what you've got to do here. You can't just give them, you can't just come out and be somebody's punching bag. You got to throw a couple punches yourself and try to make some things work for you. But my number one overall key to victory, Russ, is it's control the football, control the clock. Right? And this run rate offense that we're hoping to see in full display, or at least successful display. I don't think we'll see all of it against Georgia, but enough of it to keep the ball in our hands. So the fewer opportunities that Georgia has to get on the football field and score, the better. And that leads to both of our key to victory of score whenever you're in range. So if you're only going to get a handful of possessions, you better score when you got the football. But I really feel like controlling the clock, shortening this game is really the only huge benefit that Marshall's going to have to try to win this game. They just simply cannot slow the game down.
Yeah, and a comment on that, I think we're going to see a lot of tempo from our offense, so that makes it a little bit harder. It's not impossible, though. It is not impossible because you just keep getting first downs, and that's what keeps you on the field and you going toward scoring and keeping them, unless there is a catastrophic turnover like we talked about, a pick six or a scoop and score, that keeps them from scoring. So, yeah, I love that, man. It's going to be a little more difficult with tempo, but again, nothing you can't say is impossible.
It's 10 yards at a time, man. That's all you got, 10 yards at a time, and another 2 minutes off the clock here, there, and everywhere. So is it going to be easy? Hell no, it's not going to be easy. This is something new that I've worked into this preview. We usually don't do it this way. We kind of go tease to victory. I get an MVP prediction from you and a score prediction. I just want to ask you a couple of questions because this is different. This is a different type game. I'm going to, how do you see this one? And I don't mean from a score perspective. So when you think about this game being played, let me just ask both questions at the same time. How do you see this one kind of playing? What's the game plan? And then what is a successful takeaway outside of a win? Fall everything up to, but you just can't get the win. What is successful? What's a successful takeaway from this game?
Let me do that one first. The successful takeaway, I mean, you get a win. I mean, successful doesn't define it, But if you want to view this game as a success, You see Georgia fans and other teams around the country, but especially in the Sun Belt Conference, going, this is a team to watch out for at Marshall. This is a team that at some point in this game made Georgia a little scared, or they shown them that they are here to play. So I think either taking a lead at some point during the game or staying within a one possession game for a large portion of the game would be a huge win in a David versus Goliath situation. And I think that gains a lot of respect. You keep the score respectable is one thing, but I mean, you can still go down there and get massive respect and still lose by 4 touchdowns because they're predicting them to score. I told Trey this when we were on his show. 5 touchdowns and a field goal still does not get the spread at 39 and a half. So you're talking about a massive drubbing as everyone looks at this. And so I think going down and proving everyone wrong and even being within 2 to 3 touchdowns is going to prove a lot of people wrong. Listen, I've seen, and I didn't crop them and put them up here on the screen, but I've seen some Bulldog fans, some of them older, just when I looked and I searched Marshall and Georgia, and I saw them say they're not even going to watch the game because one guy said, my Georgia is playing Marshall or hosting Marshall, snooze fest. And he said he was going to watch LSU at Clemson or Texas, Ohio State and, stuff like that and not watch his own team.
Yeah, some fan.
Yeah. So when you have people across the country, and I'm not saying that is, anything saying every single Georgia fan saying this. We've had a bunch of Georgia fans say, hey, wish you guys great, looking forward to it, hope it's a great game, that sort of thing. And give us respect, whether they actually think that we deserve it or not, and I appreciate that. Yeah. But when you have people across the country saying winless in the Sun Belt Conference, 2-10, maybe overall, bottom 5 team in the country, lost their entire team, that sort of thing, I think that you can gain a lot of respect by going down here and putting up a good game against Georgia. So I think that would be a success. Now, the first one, since I've had to answer that, remind me again what the question was, how you see the game going, but not necessarily a score prediction.
Yeah.
All right. So I see it going that Marshall comes out and maybe is a little shaky to start. And then they find their footing and they make it a competitive game. And then I kind of see Georgia with their depth and with their, let's face it, near NFL talent. I see them pulling away in the second half. But I think that Marshall goes down, maybe gets off to a shaky start to where people are like, yeah, see, here they go. This is that Marshall team that I was talking about. And I'm not talking about our fans. I'm talking about everybody across the country. And then we find our footing and we, really, really give it to them there for a while.
Well, I'll tell you what I think success short of a win looks like in this one for me. If you are somehow able to keep this under 3 scores, that is great. Oh, yeah. With all those headlines and all those projections and all this kind of stuff, you go down there and you make a game of it, or you go down there and you keep throwing punches until the final whistle blows. You never pack it in. You never give up. And you can tell when that happens. You can tell when a team does that.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, if you're out there fighting and clawing for every yard, every point you can possibly get, no matter what, all game long, that's a win to me, or that's a successful takeaway. I'm not calling that a win, but that's a successful takeaway. If you can find out a lot about the dudes that are on your roster in that environment, so who you can count on for the remainder of the season, that's a successful takeaway. There's so much new. Yeah. You need to know who your guys are, who your foxhole guys are, right? And we're going to find out a lot about that this year. And of course, yes, the other successful takeaway is everybody come away healthy or relatively healthy so that there's no games missed as we move into the home opener.
Let me add one small thing to that. Remember last year when Mike Green went up there and just absolutely dominated on that play that gets shown over and over with the spin move. A guy that was going to be one of the top tackles drafted in the NFL. They already knew it before the season started. He went up there. That got Mike Green on a lot of people's radars. So to see something like that down here at Georgia, I think that would be good too. You're finding out who your dogs are. You're finding out who your guys in the foxholes, like you said, but individuals making big impact plays there, I think that's going to be a really good thing to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. This is where a quarterback can really separate himself. A running back can really separate himself, and defenders as well. Let's move into the MVPs. Who's your MVP pick? I'm going to tell you out of the gate, I copped out big as hell this week. So who you got?
Well, I went out on a major limb. I did. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to throw the depth chart back up since we're talking about players here, because we didn't want to have that just dominating the screen the whole time we talk, but we are going to show it a little bit. And I can't get it to come back up there now. Oh well, I'll remove it and put it back up.
Whoops. I try here. How about that? Just for a second. We'll do that there.
Yeah. All right. So just for a second here, I am going to say Ja'Kai Long. I do not expect, just to qualify this, I do not expect him to get the only attempts during this game. I expect at least 2, possibly all 3 of the top 3 quarterbacks to play. But I see Ja'Kai Long being the MVP, and here's why. I think Georgia is stout against the run, and they are going to target the run heavily to try to win this game because, again, what's our game plan? 55 to 65% runs, so they're going to be targeting that. So it's going to be less likely that you see it from a running back, so I'm going with a quarterback to be the offensive MVP. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say Ja'Kai Long, the youngster, goes out. He picks up some good yards with his legs and surprises them through the air as well.
Well, that's a good pick, and I would like to say right out of the gate, I too expect to see more than one quarterback play in this game, and it will not surprise me at all if it is Ja'Kai Long that gets the start for the Herd in this game. The momentum that he's made for himself over the past month or so has just been pretty remarkable, and you can't keep a secret like that for long. The best secret that they've got, the Herd's got, is that there's no film for any of these guys, really. So they're going to be able to have the element of surprise to a certain degree. But look, man, I can't go with a quarterback to solely do it. We are built to run the football. I don't care that if Georgia may be ganging up to stop the run. That's still what has to work for the Herd, So biggest cop out of the year for me, I'm hoping. But I'm going, I don't know, maybe 10 MVPs here. It's the Herd O-line and the running back room. It's going to have to be all those guys all game long doing all the heavy lifting with your pick as Ja'Kai Long or the quarterbacks just to be able to move the chains a little bit with those medium to short range passes. I'm throwing love to the big guys right out of the gate, the Herd offensive line, the Herd running back room.
I love that pick.
It has got to be those guys. Now,
I don't care if you said the entire roster is a cop out, KD. I love that pick. I really do. That's a great pick.
Let's move to score predictions now. This is where the rubber meets the road, really.
Well, hold on real quick. I had a couple more MVPs I didn't realize. I had one for offense, defense, and special teams because I had done that last year. So I don't want to leave these guys out. And I'm going to do defense first, but I had Jave Gilmore at linebacker that I really think that size and that speed at outside linebacker, it's going to be maybe one of those Mike Green moments that we see from the Ohio State game last year. And I have him as the defensive MVP. For special teams, it's Lorcan Quinn. You got a guy that has a leg that he can kick it from the 50 and still get a score. And we already said we can't go possessions without scores. So if we see some long field goals to help keep us in these games or in this game, I think he's definitely got to be that special teams MVP. Okay. Sorry, I had that written down. I had all 3 of them. I didn't want to leave those 2 out.
That's fine. If you're going to do it, I'm going to do it too. I'm going to shrink the cop out and get a little bit more focused on the defensive side of the ball. Love the pick of Jave Gilmore. I think this is the opportunity to be a breakout game for him on a conference level, at least, for people to open up their eyeballs and go, holy crap, this guy can ball. But I'm going to go first line of defense. Give me Katron Evans, defensive nose tackle there, to have to really pull his weight, so to speak. Terrible pun, but in that 3-3-5, it's going to be really hard to do against a team like Georgia. But I like the way he's built. I like the attitude, and I like the grit. Give me Katron Evans on defense. Special teams, it has to be Lorcan Quinn. But a little honorable mention maybe to Xavier Bradshaw, who we really didn't expect to get the nod at one of those returner positions. How about the legacy player breaking out against UGA in week 1, man? Why the hell not? Let's have a little fun with it. So,
yeah, as you can see there, we've got him. If you didn't get a good look earlier on special teams there, they've got those guys there, Xavier Turner Bradshaw, one of the 2 guys expected to return kicks.
Yeah, super cool, man. Now, can we move into a score prediction?
I'll allow it.
Okay.
All right. So just yesterday, when we got this question, I don't know when that episode is going to air for the Doghouse podcast, but he asked us, and I said 42-14. And I was kicking myself because I had said and written down 42-17 because I think that Quinn at least gets 1 field goal on there. But, I don't know how we get around that area if we end up with 5 field goals and it's in the 15 mark or something. But I really see the low 40s to mid to upper teens for us, covering the spread, just barely going over or hovering right at that over-under that they're predicting, but much, much closer than what this 39.5 point spread looks like.
Yeah, much like what you're saying. I don't know when the Doghouse podcast is going to air, and I had a different score prediction for that game, so it's going to appear like later in the week probably. I've changed my mind, but actually I've changed my mind now from when we were talking about it last night and going through, my keys to victory and all that kind of thing. If I'm going to pick a score, I'm going to use my keys to victory on what I think the score prediction might be. And I like it. I don't think Georgia's going to get to 40. I think Marshall's going to try to shorten that clock, try to, avoid those extra possessions for the Dogs. Give me 38-17 Dogs.
I'll take it.
That's 21 points, man. And I said a 3-score victory is a successful takeaway, or a 3-score loss is a successful takeaway. And that's exactly what I'm going to predict. Give me 38-17 Georgia Bulldogs. Herd looking to go back to Huntington, West Virginia and lay a butt whooping in week 2 in the home opener.
Yeah. Now, and if you ask both of us what we want to see, it's the opposite of that or much worse, 64-3 good guys, the Herd. But we're just going with this David versus Goliath scenario. I mean, it's a 2.7% chance as predicted for a reason, and it's going to take a lot to stay up with that depth and that all-star talent. And nothing against our guys. We're going to root them on anytime we can, and we hope we are so wrong and we get to talk about the biggest upset in Marshall football history next week. But right now, 42-17 me, 38-17 you. I think that would still show some people around the country that this is not the Herd that they thought they were looking at.
Yeah, so this is your week 1 Marshall football preview, brought to you by Willie's at the Paddock, 440 8th Avenue West, Huntington, West Virginia. Great neighborhood bar. Like I said, all decked out in herd gear. You guys saw the video. Family friendly. Going to have that watch party on Saturday at 3:30. Get over there and have a good time amongst some fellow Herd fans. Maybe find yourself a new neighborhood spot to hang out for Herd game days. Russ, if you got any final words, let me have it. Otherwise, let's look to get the heck out of here.
Any Georgia fans that are watching this, there's going to be a large contingent of Marshall fans down there. I've heard that you guys are very welcoming at your tailgates. We look forward to that and look forward to interacting with you guys. If you see me down there, love to talk football with you real quick. If not, thanks for tuning in. And we are looking forward to coming down and putting on hopefully a big fight on the field. But with that, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Vet, or whether you see us down in Athens, Georgia, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you next week for a Georgia recap and a preview of the Missouri State home opener. It's the ThunderCast. Later.